Hello, I'm going to dress the loom to make a set of rugs. There'll be 4 ends per inch and a block structure. I find this layout makes a firm rug. First I need to clear the old warp from the loom. I kept weaving until the ends of the warp threads were almost into the heddles. Each bunch of threads is attached to the back beam by a nylon string. I make a lark's head knot to hold onto the warp threads. Here I'm cutting close to this knot so I can remove the warp threads. With the warp threads cut, I pull the scrap out of the heddles. I take these short bits to a local textile recycle centre. The wool does generate a lot of fluff, so I give the loom a good hoovering. I'll use 3 strands of this white raw wool as a warp thread. You join me at the back of the loom, nearly all the sections loaded with warp thread. First I move the guides along to the next section. Then I pull out the nylon string to check it's taut and form a lark's head knot into which I'll place the knotted warp threads. The lark's head knot pulls tight around the warp threads. I reach over to reset the counter, then start turning the back beam. I'm using just 2 spools from the rack, others I've prepared are just stored here. Then I'm taking 6 strands, which will become 2 warp threads, straight from the spools. I've made this guide to keep everything from getting tangled. A quick glance at the counter, I've made 4 turns so far. The warp threads lead into the tension box. The threads have to go around these wooden dowels, which causes a drag and keeps them tight. 1 turn of the back beam is about 1 metre. I'm going to stop at 22 turns or 22 metres. This will be enough for 10 rugs. I wrap a piece of masking tape around the warp threads to hold them in place before cutting them. I then secure this cut end by pinning it to the rest of the threads in that section. I'll knot the dangling warp threads ready for the next section. Here's the back beam with 45 inches of width. This is a comfortable width for me to weave. Next step is to attach all these ends to this stick. I use a bulldog clip to hold each section to the stick. Once all ends are clipped on, I need to lift this stick to create enough slack to pull through for threading through the heddles. It's a slightly nerve-wracking process. You can see here the threads got slightly caught in the section dividers. I think that bird flying past could sense my struggle and gave a whoop of encouragement. I pull this sheet over the back beam to stop the warp threads getting further tangled in the section dividers when I lower the stick down. I hang it here so I can reach through from the front of the loom. Around at the front of the loom, I reach through and free the next warp thread and pull it through the right harness, then through the next slot in the reed. When I've done 4 threads, an inch, I knot them loosely together in front of the reed. I install the front beam. I remove it because it gets in the way during the threading process. I can now tie the bunches of threads to the front beam. I give each thread a slight tug to check they're tight, then knot adjacent sections together. All sections have been tied to the front beam. I wind on, the loom's ready for weaving. Thanks for watching.